Let me explain. Customer experience all over Asia is being redefined. When I think about customer experience, we think about the West really leading the way. When we think about store retail experience, maybe you think about Apple Retail, or maybe you think about Amazon and Whole Foods Market, for example. But what I put to you now is that in sectors like, for example, retail, Asia really is leading the way. Alibaba, the Hema store, is their offline sort of adventure from online. Being an e-commerce platform, now they have offline stores. So the Hema store are these concept stores, and they're all over China now, where you can really order anything. And there are many sort of great aspects of the customer experience in there, like, for example, the fact that you can order it online and actually get it in the store. I know that sounds like a really old-fashioned idea now, but you're in store, you actually order it with your phone. So everything's connected, like the procurement, the supply, the dispatch center, if you like, the storage of all the inventory. It happens in the store. There's no separate silos of information and product or inventory. It all happens. The store is it. And therefore, the online version of that is the same as the store. It's not like a different procurement center, a different e-commerce platform, and so on. It's all the same thing. So if I'm living within 5 kilometers of the Alibaba Hema store, I can get my lunch delivered in 30 minutes. Now, when I was a kid, I remember distinctly when I used to buy music, and we didn't have phones back then, let alone Spotify and what have you. And there was no internet. I'm talking like the 80s. When you ordered music and you bought music, either you went to the record store, and that was limited by shelf space. So I could only buy what they could physically stock in their shelf space, which basically meant that they would naturally stock the items which they could sell more of. And therefore, those items were the chart hits rather than the niche products and genres. And if you look at the old sort of genre classification of music, and rock and roll in particular, that sort of really reflects how retail was set up back then, that you had pop, rock and roll, maybe jazz, metal, indie, and then that catch-all term, world music, which world music was anything that, I don't know, what was it? Anything that was none of the above. There were 5, maybe 6 categories, and then obviously later it became urban, hip-hop, R&B, and so on. But if you were to go onto Spotify, the categories now are endless because there's no shelf space, because shelf space dictates the category. And therefore, the physical manifestation of the product, the physical manifestation of the experience, is really a reflection of the physical manifestation of the store. The fact that you couldn't go to your local record store and order death metal or, Seattle grunge punk was because maybe I was into that, but I was the only guy in the village or the town who was, and therefore there was no point giving up a whole rack for that if only one guy was buying it. Which basically meant that the whole experience was dictated. The tail wagged the dog. The experience tail, no, sorry, got that wrong. The store tail wagged the experience